have entered the realm of dead air. For the next 2 hours, you will be transported into the world of the strange and the supernatural. You might not feel the need to cleanse your laptops or mobile devices afterwards. But it might not be a bad idea.
How the hell did we get to June already?
We're here.
I cannot believe it. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live and the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. We are simulcast with KGRADB.com, KGRA on Facebook. My name is George Lopez. With me, as always, Mr. Ken DeCosta. June 4th, 2023. You asked me this 30 years ago, and I'd have been like, I'm not going to make it there. There's no way in hell. And yet here we are. Thank you guys for joining us there in the chat. Always good to see you. If you're first time joining, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also the thumbs up for our show tonight and the bell for reminding for upcoming content. We got a lot to get to and talk about tonight, but I'm excited. Ken didn't tell me who we had on tonight. All he said is it's celebrities. So I'm hoping that it's Seth MacFarlane and Taylor Swift. I can only hope. But Ken, I don't know who we have on tonight, but should be exciting. How are you doing up there in the great cold north? I heard you guys are having an Indian winter or something.
Bit chilly, almost like a fall bite to it. I was hoping for a little bit of rain so I wouldn't have to do the lawn this weekend. What I wanted to start out with, though, and I noticed this because I don't know about George, but I rarely rewatch shows that we've done. You know, I get sick of the sound of my own voice enough as it is. So,
no,
depending on the guest, you know, we may rewatch as a way to see how we were doing, but I rarely, if ever, do that. So, one thing I noticed that I have to address that last week I noticed it because
I should have shaved.
No, that's not it at all. I'm going to fall on my sword here because some of you may notice that I do a lot of this and I'm moving around. And, you know, last week I was doing a lot of this and it's not Peruvian marching flakes or anything like that. I am always putting these things up. So sometimes the attention is divided because we want to recognize people in chat or we're looking for something. But the other thing is I do have some neck issues and upper back issues. And a lot of times I have to, you know, if I'm doing this, I'm not taking a bow. I'm just readjusting myself. So,
well, you're old, Ken. It's understandable.
Well, you know, it's just that last week I noticed this, like, what am I doing? It was like in and out and over and shifting and back. And it was like, you know, so I just thought it looks kind of bizarre. So I need to address that. So
I can do it more, and this way yours is less noticeable. I can. All right, Ken. Who's going to be our guest tonight? You know, we should.
I'm on a pivoting chair, so like, you know, I can necessarily zoom or just come back in. I can do like all sorts of things like that.
I am too.
A motorized chair. The station bought me that. KGRA bought me that. So thank you, guys.
Just got to get one of those motion cameras that follow your face and make it a lot easier.
Or you can always, you know, hit up your medicine cabinets, get a little Dramamine if I just kind of, you know, start to
he'll steady out then. Exactly.
Right, exactly. Steady cam.
That's okay.
So that's it. What were we talking about again?
Thank you. Keeping celebrities waiting. It's not a good thing. I mean, if we're going to get Keanu Reeves on here eventually, we got to, you know, have a good reputation.
Yeah, sure.
So
yeah.
Who do we got?
We are going to bring in, ladies and gentlemen, we spared no expense to do this tonight. We are going to bring in, you were right, we do have Seth MacFarlane waiting backstage. And
Oh, baby.
also, the incredible Stevie Nicks has decided to join us tonight
Nice.
for this. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's bring him in. Seth MacFarlane and
What time is it? How long have they been talking? Oh,
You know, this is, and they're gone. That's all.
they're gone. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's
No
as
autographs.
always, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and
Who are we gonna?
now
Cody, Satori, hey,
hi.
part of the Dead Air family Thursday nights, and yeah, we'll be talking about that here in just a little bit too. But good to see you guys. Where the hell are you? Let me guess.
Here we go.
Could it be at the childhood home of my co-author Andrea Perrin, with whom I wrote a book called In a Flicker, and I've never been to that house? You wouldn't be at that location, would you?
I'm not saying it. You say it.
Yeah, we are. And if you do
let him
get
be
down
mad
here,
at you.
we'll give you a tour when you do get down here.
It's so
Or get up here. You're in Florida.
yeah, they're in front of the infamous wall signing monument and the haunted door.
I know. What if that? Yeah. Hopefully that opens again tonight.
They're gonna whack me in the
Whoa.
open.
Well, that's why I sat over here.
Yeah, one
Oh,
never
yeah.
knows.
Think
Been
of
a
the
long
battle
week for me.
scars. Guys love battle scars. That'll be great. Why are you there at the Conjuring House and not in your museum?
Well, that's a good question. So, to add another thing to the list of busyness, 2 weeks out of the month now, we live here and caretake the house. So we give day tours and stuff, especially when the show's on hiatus right now. So obviously we're not filming with them right now. So we're here doing this, and we're also working on opening up our first museum location. We can't say where yet because of security issues, but we're working on that as well.
Wow.
So when we're not here, we're working on that. So yeah, it's been busy and fun at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a brick and mortar museum now.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be in Rhode Island somewhere. We can say
It
that.
doesn't feel real.
Yeah, it's
And with a brick and mortar museum, they can take off in their black food truck with the museum on wheels and deliver those to needy paranormal enthusiasts all over the country.
Hey, that's a good idea.
Wait a minute. Let me get back to this.
Squeals on wheels. You can use that if you want.
You are now sleeping on occasion in the Conjuring House.
Yes, we are 2 caretakers on a team of caretakers for the house. So we take care of it, we give tours, we help with overnight guests, fun things.
Oh, he's gone. Sorry.
George is gone already.
Oh, this is going to be a fun show.
Something tells me he is not jumping in the car and heading toward Rhode Island right now.
He should.
I know.
Do a 12-hour show here, and he might make it. Hi, Lori. So, what we wanted to get into tonight, and you guys touched on this on your show a couple of Thursdays ago, is to give everybody a little look behind the scenes at ghost hunters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure everybody is very familiar with the show. And I said to your dad a number of years back when we were at the cookout, which I believe was the first time you guys ever met each other.
I think so.
Yes.
So we were out on Johnson's Pond, and I remember telling him how much that he's inspired people. You know, the show has inspired people, motivated people to go out and look at these kind of things. And, you know, it really got the whole idea of investigative, procedural paranormal shows off the ground. And there were millions that followed. We know what it was like in 2006, 2007, where everybody thought they were going to get a paranormal show. Just regular schmooze off the street figured that, and a lot of times they were right.
Yeah.
People did, they were looking for, certain personalities and things like that. And now here it is later, and I know your dad has said, yeah, we'll give it a shot for a season. At first, he turned it down. But here we are in season 58 or whatever it is now. And the show went away for a bit. It came back in different form, and now it's pretty much back home under the name that it first started with. And there are so many people that have taken information from this show and approaches and methodologies and theories, and so much has been taken from it. So you're in a unique position. Satori, you lived it as a kid growing up. Cody, you were inspired by it. You one of those people who watched it, and now you suddenly find yourself on set, as it were, on location, watching the setup, going through the process. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about how it met or exceeded your expectations, or what you learned from it that maybe you didn't know?
Well, for me, and like you mentioned, of course, I was a fan of Ghost Hunters, growing up and things like that. Just to find out they were in the next state over, I thought was really really cool. And Actually going out and filming is totally different because when you watch the show, it's only what, like 42 minutes, 43 minutes, plus the commercials and everything like that, and you don't really process what goes into making a show. You know what I mean? We become good friends with the sound guys and the camera guys when we're there, and just talking to them and watching them do all of their stuff behind the scenes is amazing in itself. I mean, everyone, the whole crew works really really hard to put this show out there, and just grasping how much time it takes to film an episode is amazing to me. I mean, we're usually out there like a week filming. You have to do the history beats and all that stuff, and the all these different scenes that have to come together to do this. Just the investigating alone usually takes about 3 or 4 nights, and then they only take the best stuff, and that's what makes the show. So a lot of the other times, it's just like investigating with Rise Up and stuff like that. Not everything is happening all at once within 40 minutes, like the show portrays. And a lot of people think that's what it is. You know what I mean? Especially if you just grew up watching the show.
Yeah.
So that's been the most eye-opening thing. I mean, before I was even ever thinking I would ever be on an episode of this thing, you would think, oh yeah, a lot of work goes into making this stuff, but actually being there and witnessing it and seeing all these, I mean, there has to be a crew of at least 30 people that come together to put an episode together, which is neat.
I think it's cool that, like, I think seeing somebody who didn't always know this kind of life, like, seeing things like this for the first time, being like, whoa, like seeing your reaction to some of these things is like, whoa. And truthfully, since this show started when I was only a couple years old, so I've always kind of grown up like knowing what my dad does, and then being brought to, like, if I begged hard enough, or if, like, my dad was watching me or something, he'd bring me to the sets and stuff, and I would see it all at work. And so honestly, it's like I've kind of grown up around a lot of these people, and it just, I'm used to it, but it's still, I agree that it's like amazing, and everybody on set deserves a lot of credit. I mean, even the personal like assistants and things like that, there are people that are coming up to you and they're like, oh, I see that you need a water. And you're like, whoa, you just completely read my mind. Like, you're on top of everything. It's an amazing system.
And the crew has to work twice as hard because, I mean, this show really isn't planned out at all. I mean, the unique thing about Ghost Hunters is, Satori's dad has control over the whole thing. So when we want to go investigate, we go investigate, and they just follow us. They're just right behind us, tailing us, which is really really neat. I mean, nothing's really like scheduled out like that, which is really cool.
Yeah, young lady, you look like you need a cupcake.
Right? Well, I only know one person that makes the best cupcakes around, and he's sitting on this screen too. So
Tell my story. Tell my story. Um, okay, so I want to ask you this, right? So you grew up around it, and it's funny because I was just doing some research for something else entirely, and I came upon a story in the Projo about your brothers and your dad when they were still at EWG, Exeter West Greenwich. They were all playing football.
Mhm.
And they asked him about that. And sometime, I guess the story was at some point, someone put the last names together. Hey, are you related to yeah, that's my dad. And it's like, oh, that's the coolest thing ever. So I wanted to ask you this. So now that you're on the show and you're recognizable, you've become public figures, you do conferences, you travel with the museum, you do social media, you have your own podcast here,
Mhm.
9 p.m. every Thursday here on Dead Air Full Spectrum. Um, how do you look at how people from the outside view you? Because, a lot of times people will say when they're in that position, I really haven't changed,
Mhm.
but it seems like everybody else around me has.
Mhm.
Like you're treated a different way. I mean, people are like, I don't know, you know, I wouldn't know really, but do you guys find that, all of a sudden it's people just treat you differently and then you're just kind of like, what's up with this?
I think on my end, it's changed over the years. I think there's always been some people that have been, more cautious or more intimidated or something to talk to me, and some people that are like, they kind of look at me and be like, "Oh, you're the Hawes kid, like you're a paranormal investigating family." Like, they treat me like, kind of put me on this like pedestal, and I'm like, "Don't do that." Like I've had that before.
I
But
played a tree in a school play. Just don't you mess with me.
but and then there were some people when I was younger, like, people I would, go to school with, colleagues, things like that, when I was at a young age, that would think I was weird because that was the family that I grew up in. And,
Right.
and that was like all I knew. But I think as I've gotten older, it's really changed. And like I've gotten myself out there more. I've seen people go from like thinking I was weird to thinking, whoa, she's pretty cool. And now it's like I kind of
Right.
switched this role up, and now I'm like, wow, it's weird to be considered like somebody that some people would think is cool sometimes. You know?
I think I still get blown away by the lines at the conferences and stuff. It's amazing because I'm still on the plane where someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, Cody, how you doing?" And I'm trying to quickly run through my brain, who is this person?
I know. Hey, buddy.
And I never met them before, but it's strange to have somebody know you and you not know them yet.
I
And
know.
which we love meeting different people, which is fun. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it's just something to get used to, I guess.
It
It's weird.
is. It is.
And you should. I hope you never lose that sense of like, this is all for us. It's like, what I like. I think that the mistake people make is they become entitled and they get used to it. Like, someone hands you a bottle of water and it's just kind of like you're amazed. And I think the best thing to do is to stay amazed on that. But when you're doing this now, it's kind of a weird question, but even to maybe like a younger generation who's interested in this, do you feel a responsibility to kind of be role models in that regard? Like, I'm talking about whatever it is on camera, but do you find sort of like it might be a little restricting, like you always have to be on, people expect a certain thing from us, or, do you kind of have to live your life a little bit differently now?
Well, let me tell you, if you meet us, you're meeting us. That's the thing. I mean,
Yeah, there are some things that we filter ourselves on when we like publicly talk or act, and you
Right.
know, so some people meet us and they're like, "Whoa, you're even crazier in person than you were on your live show," and like we take that as a compliment.
Thank you.
As for like role models, I guess now for like younger generations and young investigators, I've seen like young investigators come in to like tours and like just to meet us and come visit like our museum exhibits and stuff. And I see them, and I want to be a role model for them. I want to be somebody where it's like, be like this instead of somebody that thinks everything's evil or everything's some sort of thrill jump scare or disrespect and things. And I'm like, if we're going to do it, if we're going to try to get ourselves out there, might as well be as good of a role model as we can be, especially
Right.
like the little kids. I've seen like young little girls come in like to tours and they bring their K2 meters and they're telling me how they want to be an investigator. And I'm like, I want to be your role model, please. Like, don't jump to the horror movie side of things. Like, I want to be that person.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what also kind of makes us, a little bit different. We're trying to push the whole different method of investigating as well, like trying to pay attention to yourself more, and I guess kind of bringing it back old school, because I think if more people tried doing this, you may not get the same results that we do, but I think if more people tried doing it, you'd get more results than what you're getting with using equipment and things like that, and solely basing your investigations off of that. Even people who don't think that they have any abilities or anything like that, I think if you just keep trying and working with it, through doing different experiments and stuff like that, especially if you have a good group of people that you work well with, I think that's what we've been trying to push lately, just to try different things with yourselves.
And I am going to go here and I'm going to say this too. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot more recently because I've been seeing it in places. It's been harder to try to be a role model, I guess, at least for me personally. And you're going to know exactly where I'm going with this, because sometimes I want to get out and I want to be the role model, especially as like a female in the field and stuff. But then you see some people say that I can't be a role model because I was a female investigator, but I was brought on by my dad because it's a family
Oh,
thing.
Nepo baby thing.
Yeah, so I can't be a role model, or I can't be, an individual that has any sort of like, in momentum or impact in the
Mm.
field because it was just handed to me, and which wasn't the case. Like
Yeah.
I worked, but it wasn't, what I'm
I
saying.
mean, I guess that comes with it. You could change your last name to DaCosta. Nobody will bother you. Trust me. But
You just want to adopt me, Ken.
yeah. I mean, well, this is like the fortress of solitude here. When you come here, it's like we talk about whatever we want to talk about. You know what I mean? No judgments, and everything stays here. So it's nice to have those outlets. Um, but I would imagine that comes with it. Sure. It's like, oh, you're on the show only because, yeah. Whatever. Um, I wanted to ask you, do you get, I know when you walk in a conjuring house, it's picture time. I have a picture with you. They take a picture of them. I usually hold a camera. But when you are, when you're approached by someone, of your age, a little bit younger, who's, because we get this all the time. Do you have any advice for new groups? I mean, what's important going forward before you buy the t-shirts, before you get the equipment, for, all the rest of this stuff? What is the one piece, if you could narrow it down, that anybody who wants to do this, whether as an individual or a group of individuals, what's the most important thing that they should be thinking about before they ever dip a toe in this water?
Well, the people you work with, trust is a big thing. You have to trust the people around you. You have to make sure if you're working with a team, and to make sure it's a good team. And bring it back to what I was just mentioning, I think the group of people that you work with can elevate your experience by a lot. I think living energy has a big impact on the results you get at an investigation. at least with Satori and myself, that's definitely proven to be true for sure. And I think when you surround yourself with good people, then you have better results and you have a better time. I mean, investigating doesn't have to be this boring thing, and you can have fun doing it. The other big thing is clients. Are you the type of investigator that just wants to go out and have fun? Because there's plenty of places to go and do that. Or do you want to help people? That's a whole different ball game when you're going into somebody's house to do this, because you're dealing with actual living people that are going through an experience, a life altering experience, usually in their house, whether it's paranormal or not.
One of the biggest things that I wanna recommend to anybody too is don't let media and things be your education. Don't let the TV. Coming from people,
That's a
from
tough
being
one.
involved in TV. Don't let all TV, YouTube, TikTok, whatever you use, be your education. Like, read up on some of the people that started this. Like, read up on everything, how things work. Don't just buy something off the internet you think is, because it says ghost equipment, it's going to do, something. Do your research before you just jump on in.
Yeah, I when you hear this, because I read this and I see it a lot, and I hear it from people. Why do you want to do this? And they say, I want to prove the existence of ghosts.
Mhm.
When you hear that at first blush, what goes through your mind? If you were to ask somebody, what is it you hope to accomplish here? And they say those words, I want to prove the existence of ghosts. What
Good
comes
luck.
to your mind?
Yeah, good luck.
We're doing it in our own way, and it will never be no matter what you do, there's always going to be people that don't believe it.
Instead of proving the existence of ghosts, prove the existence for yourself. Figure that out first, because that's what happened to me. I wanted to figure out if this is a real thing that's out there after you die. That's when I first started. Once I figured that out, that oh yeah, there definitely is something afterwards, then your focus kind of shifts into something else. Knowing it's out there, once you figure that out, your whole direction in the field kind of shifts. At least for me, that's what happened. And then you start focusing on other things. How do I better communicate with the spirits? How do I approach an EVP session better, knowing that they're already out there? What can I say to kind of draw them a bit closer? And then you start getting into, well, I should start doing more research or something like that to maybe find out something that they liked when they were alive, or something that they relate to, and stuff like that. So proving the existence of ghosts, that's a definitely high bar to set. But I don't think one singular person is going to be able to do that. I mean, just looking at where Satori and myself are coming from, we're having direct communication with the other side, and they're coming forward and saying some amazing stuff, and to us that's definitely proves the existence of the afterlife. But you're not going to please everybody, that's for sure.
Right. It's okay to say I want to prove the existence of ghosts on a macro level.
Yeah.
But on a micro level, isn't it just as important to want to not prove the existence of ghosts?
Yeah. Oh,
when you're in a situation where some kids are scared or something, is it not equally important to be able to show them that there's nothing here that can hurt you, and there's a rational or possibly a rational explanation? You've got to be willing to do that, because if your thing is, I want to prove there's ghosts, you're going to have that bias going in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
every little noise and every little shadow. And I don't know, maybe you're doing yourself a favor, but I don't see where you're doing anybody else a favor except just making them more scared. So I think you got to be able to accept the idea that you also have to prove that there's nothing here on occasion.
Yeah, and a lot of people, sometimes that's disappointing. You know what I mean? You go in all excited to find something, and then you find out, maybe it's not something paranormal, and you kind of don't want to go in that direction. You want to keep the vibe up and stuff like that. But that's important. That's really important, especially when you're dealing with other living people. You're going into someone else. You get to go home. We've always said this, Ken, that you get to go home at the end of the night to your own home, and you leave these people in their haunted houses or unhaunted houses, believing that they're living in hell. You know what I mean? So,
except occasionally when my dad drops by, apparently.
Exactly.
We'll get into that later.
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you're coming from the right place, because to me, at this point in my life anyway, I'm going to speak for myself. It's not a question of proving if ghosts exist. I think that ship sailed a long time ago. And I think most people understand that there is something out there. There's something else. And this does exist. So the idea is, where do you go from, here's my goal in life, I want to prove ghosts exist. And once you've proven it to, I don't know who you're trying to prove it to. Are you trying to prove it to science, to politicians, to, I'm not sure who you're trying to prove it to, but when you have that come to Jesus moment where you have an experience and all doubt is erased from your mind, then where do you go from there? I mean, there's got to be, okay, ghosts, okay, to myself, I prove they exist. Got it. Now what?
Exactly. Like think about it. If you were to prove the existence of a ghost to everybody, how much is that really going to change? I mean, because there's always going to people. I mean, there's many different religious beliefs out there. Some of them don't even have like ghosts in their radar as we view them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is perfectly okay. But there's no way you're going to convince the whole world, even if you have solid evidence that this stuff exists. So you should be doing this more for yourself. If that's your pursuit, is to prove that this stuff is out there, then do it for you, and then go from there. Then try to help other people and show people your evidence if you want to. I mean, a lot of people show us things that they've captured and stuff like that, which is always fun to look at. And then some of that stuff solidifies it even more that there's some interesting stuff out there happening. We love hearing the stories, and working here at this house, we hear a bunch of it, and we love it. You know what I mean? We just love it.
I do know what you mean. I'm going to bring George back, but I wanted to go down some of the photos we have to give everybody an idea of being on set and what that's like. And Cody sent a few of these. Let's look at them real quick. There is the trip in the car, and I see Mountain Dew in the back seat.
I wonder whose that is.
Not mine.
Yeah. Wait a minute, they were reversed. It's like Cody has the water, you have the Mountain Dew?
Oh, yeah, it's probably because I just threw it at him. We just got off a plane in that clip, and I was still coming down from the terrifying, like, hysterical thing that I was doing, because I get hysterical every time I'm supposed to be on a plane. So I probably just threw it at him.
Well, you say that sugar is important for you, so there you go. Here is a promo shot where you guys are with one of your guests, and it was pretty good, actually. He got into character pretty quickly. He was asking some good questions.
Yeah.
He was great.
Yeah, Chandler Riggs.
He was great.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was really good. That's the episode that was filmed in California at the Bastille. Really cool location.
He was funny too.
Right. And here are you guys.
You, Cody, why did you send that photo in?
It's like you're getting your marching orders from the boss here.
I know, right? I love that picture. That's a good picture.
I hate that photo.
It is a good picture. Tori, what's around your neck? What are you wearing there?
It's a labradorite. It's one of my labradorite necklaces. I have like 3 or 4.
Oh, cool. Any particular reason? Is that a constant on cases? Or
yeah.
You think I would have noticed it already, but
so labradorite is my chosen crystal. So it's my form of like protection and communicating with the other side and like
got it.
Like that.
Yeah. Well, we've been investigating in the winter and the cold weather, so usually have like a coat on up to your neck.
I do.
At that point, so I haven't seen that yet. Where else are we going? Here we go.
The old Taps fan.
Sherry has a lot of nerve photobombing you guys in this.
Yeah, that's a fun place to. A lot of fun stuff goes on behind the scenes in there. A lot of joking and stuff. but that's
Right.
we'll review everything.
Okay, another shot of you with that's a good shot too.
I'm okay with that one. Chandler's
You're okay with that one. Here's one I'm okay with. I'm perfectly okay with this one. My
Aw, that's
wow,
yeah, you look pretty.
Oh, thank you.
that's very pretty.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Like your glasses, Cody.
yeah. Back of the Taps fan. I think that was in
That was in Alabama.
Alabama.
That was in Alabama.
Oh, all right. I feel like I'm reading the minds of the people in chat. Save room for the Holy Ghost between you guys, okay? Meanwhile, we're getting bangs, and it's like, do we have a flat tire? No, they're just hugging in the back seat.
That's funny.
We were
Um,
there
a little bit of an idea of the setup here.
Yeah.
Is this in Bama or California?
California at the Bastille.
Yeah,
My
and the cool
goodness.
thing about this, I didn't realize this until we left. So the Bastille is in Hanford, California, and there's a picture I sent you of a theater. And Hanford, California is actually the hometown of Steve Perry from Journey.
Oh, okay.
And the theater that I sent you a picture is right next door to the location we were filming at. And that's the location that Steve Perry's father got his start in. And then that's when the location that Steve Perry got his start in singing in there. And like right across the street, there's a bench from the Bastille. And they had just dedicated this bench to Steve Perry like a week before we were there. And they have a picture with Steve Perry. I'm looking at this on the plane of Steve Perry standing next to this bench. And I'm like, wait a minute, that looks familiar. And it was literally right there. So I know Steve Perry's most recent album has all pictures of this whole town on the album cover. And it was just so surreal. And so I was so upset that we found that out after we left.
I know. He complained for days and days and days nonstop about it. He really did. I love the location.
Does Sherry DeBenedetti think that song's about her now?
She hates when you sing songs with her name in it. We found that out.
She does.
Oh.
Also, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say also fun fact about this location. In this case, Cody and I we weren't there for very long. We literally flew into California while Taps was already investigating. We spent like 1.5 days and then we left. So it was like we came into set during the filming, and everything you saw was like as soon as we got there.
Yeah, that was all because of your college schedule.
Yeah, my college schedule.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed right away, let me know if there's a job open in the crew, because I won't have to step on a box to reach in the van.
Oh my gosh, the dang boxes. Remember them when they were doing
Oh my gosh.
I was so upset.
Cody got so mad because the height difference between Cody and I is kind of dramatic. So on camera, they wanted to make sure we were around the same height so they didn't have to angle the camera weird. So they would keep bringing a box and making me stand on it. And it was like a crate. And so they would come by and be like, you have to stand on the box again. And Cody got mad because we were like the same exact height.
I know. It's not, they weren't going to think you were taller. They were going to think I was shorter.
Hey, for those who don't know, right, I go 6'4", and Cody's like here. So he's a pretty tall guy. Cody's at least 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
You know.
6'2", yeah.
Let's go on to this one. This is from
oh yeah.
This is taken from when Cody got arrested and looking for bail money.
Pretty much.
That sounds like Cody.
Yeah, that's the same location out one of the jail cell windows. So yeah, that place, they overcrowded that place so much with prisoners and stuff. What was it? It was supposed to hold how many people?
So it was supposed to hold, don't quote me on this, but around like 60 to 80 people, somewhere around there. And it ended up housing like over 200. And it was incredibly crammed.
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
What could go wrong there? And last one before we bring George in, and maybe you could dispel the rumors that you drive vans from Rhode Island.
Yeah. Well, they're really driven. They're driven around by production teams to location. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They do have Rhode Island plates on them. so they're registered.
Mm-hmm.
So at least the TAPS van is the main van.
We drive them once we get to the state.
Yeah. So once we fly into the state,
unless it's local,
then they're driven everywhere. Yeah. So the TAPS van, that would be crazy to keep changing all the equipment out into a rental or something like that. So
The magic of television.
yeah.
All right, let's bring George back in here. I'm going to disappear for a little bit and work this old studio and see what happens. So, George.
No. Okay. Gonna be a fun 20 minutes.
Oh, this is gonna be awkward.
So, what's the standing rules for you guys or anybody when you're investigating with your father, Satori? As far as, goofing around, no goofing around, is there a bit of structure with regards to that, or everybody is at that level of professionalism at this point in time that you can pretty much just be yourselves on camera?
Yeah, no, there's not too many like rules or anything like that. My dad definitely says be yourself. He's always wanted us to like be ourselves and do our own thing and pave our own way. So there's not really many rules on that. We do goof around a lot more than the episode actually shows, which a lot of us do, kind of, we're a little upset about from time to time. Even my dad, he's like, oh, I wish they, like we should have put that part in if we had more time. We should have done that. And honestly, we always think that there should be like bloopers or something because there's so much goofing around that isn't shown.
There is, yeah. That all gets cut out, especially on a good case because we have a lot of good evidence to show, and that's the stuff that network wants to show, and Satori's dad wants to show because that's the stuff that is great. I mean, we get some really good evidence, but of course we would love to see. I mean, the old DVDs, when they used to have the DVDs and stuff like that, they used to include all blooper reels. So we're kind of like begging them to come out with DVD seasons again to kind of put the extra scenes on.
And I think one of the only rules is just kind of a common sense rule, not like we have to say it. It's just like be real, do everything real. Don't obviously do anything very theatrical and fake. Don't fake anything because my dad's always been big on like it has to be, genuine. So that's pretty much the only thing.
Yeah, I mean the crew films everything. They just film everything and then it's just cut together to what you see. So even when we're just goofing off and taking a break, they film all of that. We have to remember to shut our mics off when we go to the bathroom, which sometimes we don't and we forget. So everything's always being filmed when you're on set. So that's what's kind of different about, like I was mentioning, nothing's really planned out. It's just you get what you get, and then they edit it together, and that's what you see.
From even early on Ghost Hunters, somehow, some way, the production crew tends to get involved, either their own experiences or they happen to be in the shot of some kind of spirit phenomena occurring. In the time that you guys have been on, is there anybody on the crew that comes to mind that things happen around them, as we call them ghost magnets, but they're actually getting as much of activity as the rest of the investigators are?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple. I know Mitch is one of them.
I was going to say Kenny too.
Kenny is as well. So Mitch and Kenny, they're both camera operators. And I know in one of the more recent episodes, I believe it was the one with the grave dirt.
Yeah, it was
Mansion,
the Moody Mansion.
Yeah.
They were opening out to him, and
that was
they got
Kenny,
his name,
the door, yeah,
with the door, and they got Mitch's name on one of the recordings in one of the recent episodes. And it seems like, I think because they're like the primary camera operators. I know Mitch and Kenny always is working with us, and the same with Satori's dad. And I think because we always keep the same camera operators whenever we go in for a session, the spirits kind of recognize them and stuff like that as well. But those are probably the two that I guess would be considered
immediately come to mind for me.
Yeah, magnets and stuff having things happening around them and stuff. Absolutely.
Let's talk about the travel that an investigative team has to do. That's on a television program, and getting to each location, obviously, depending upon where you are in the States and in occasion in the past, they've gone overseas. You guys haven't, I think, had that opportunity yet. Food.
Mhm.
Is it difficult? Because I would imagine also you have to eat a particular way before you get in and do an investigation. So before I want to get to that, let's get to the access to food in the places you guys are at. You find spots that are referred by the production crew, they find out by some of the locals, or is it just let's go by a whim? Oh, here's some place, let's pull over and go try this place, this diner.
So it's kind of a little bit of both. Sometimes it could be recommendations to like the cast and everything. Sometimes it's just as easy as just searching it up and going, okay, this one has pretty good reviews. When we do eat, if we're like filming and stuff, a lot of the time, like we'll order out and then just get it picked up and eat on location. Like depending either outside the building or in the building, depending on where we are. And that's how that is. And then we'll always have like a snack table set up and things like that.
And like Satori was mentioning, the production assistants, the PAs, they're great with that. I mean, they're really great people that work on the production team, and they're really good with sourcing out the best places to eat and around the areas. And the interesting thing for us is we love trying the local stuff, wherever we're going. And they usually pick out good menus and stuff for that. And they set up a nice, table like Satori was talking about of snacks and stuff like that for us to eat. And sometimes we can put recommendations in and they'll get it for us, and which is awesome. You know what I mean? They're really great people. Production assistants carry the show for sure.
Any location shout outs that you guys want to give that come to memory that just really stood out? Because we've got listeners from all over the country. So from East Coast to the West Coast, is there places you guys went, oh, if we ever get back to this area, we got to go out there and eat?
Yeah. The place we ate, was it at the mansion? Was it at the Moody Mansion where we ate? Remember we ate upstairs at the table where they used to do the viewings?
Yes. That was Moody.
There was a local restaurant there, and the name's escaping me right now. But I remember it was a place that Steve got that huge wedge salad that we were making fun of. Remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
It was so every day they used to pick a different menu so we can try different places. And there was this one place, I believe it was Mexican food or something. But it was the best that after like a week or two after I was craving it. And obviously we couldn't get it. The other place when we filmed in Mississippi, I love trying all foods and everything. There was this little shack that we stopped at to get crawfish. And
I don't like seafood, and he went and he bought, and it was like this tiny little crawfish shack, and he walks in and they put it in like the bag. They like scoop it and put it in bag, and they like throw the corn and things like that. And so he goes in, comes out with literally, it was like a pound of crawfish cooked in a bag. It was just
nice.
a pack of it. And it just smelt like seafood.
But it was the best ever. That little shack had the best.
I loved the South though, like just like some of the food in the South. Oh my God, that scared me. Because I want to try like barbecue. I love barbecue, so I really want to, try more of that next time we go.
Yeah. The food is good. I love the food. That's one of my favorite parts.
So, what foods are the no-nos? Either a standing order for the crew, or you've had those experiences and you're like, between the phantom sounds and the phantom smells during an investigation, I cannot tolerate doing this again, especially when we're filming.
Well, like I mentioned, the Mexican food was great, but was it the best choice? I don't believe so.
Spicy. Don't eat anything spicy.
Yeah. I mean, usually I don't think production is kind of thinking about in terms of what's the best food for investigating. I think they're just trying to get the best local places. So we just kind of have to go with
it.
And we just pay for it afterwards, I guess. But yeah, we haven't really given any recommendations on not to get certain foods not to get.
We'll figure it out over time. It's a learning experience.
But we just keep not saying anything.
You think you guys will ever get to that level? We've been friends. You guys are also friends with Mr. Zaffis, the Godfather Paranormal, and way back in the Blog Talk days. He was on the show right after Haunted Collector was over with. And the one thing he said was, thank God I was burned out on the travel. I just staying at the hotels, staying at the airports, and it was just so taxing after a while. I dreaded season for filming because I had to deal with that. Have you guys had even a tinge of that so far? And I know with school for you, Satori, it's got to be a little bit difficult trying to squeeze that all in. But is it for you still an adventure, or is this a little bit of that that lag from doing it?
It is an adventure still for us. We haven't really been feeling too like worn out or anything. Like you said, George, college has kind of made like some situations. There have been times where my college schedule has been so busy that I practically lived in the hotel room for the week that I've been out. Like it's either filming or doing school in a hotel room. My dad would definitely have a better answer, like a better way of answering this than I, because my dad is ghost hunters. So it's like he's been at it for what, like 20 years now.
Next year it'll be 20
years.
Yeah.
So he's definitely expressed that like some of the worst part of it is like being stuck in hotel rooms and like like bouncing hotel to hotel.
Yeah, we're still definitely enjoying it because we're going to states we haven't been to before. And I downloaded this app. I think it's like Roadside America or something. I'm totally into going to all like the roadside attractions and stuff like. So we usually get like a half day off during our week on location. And thankfully they give us a rental car and stuff like that, so we can go and check out some of the local stuff. One of the most funniest things that we were just talking about this with somebody. We were in was it Iowa?
Where?
With the corn everywhere,
yes.
all the corn everywhere. And we went to one of the local museums.
No.
And because we like to go to all the local stuff to learn about where we are and stuff like that. So we go to what was the name of it?
Sioux City Public Museum in Iowa. And we were like, we need to learn more about the state. And so we go and we sit down, and it's this auditorium, and it's like an agricultural presentation. We're like, great. So it's like a screen, like it's a beautiful screen with all this talking about corn. We're
and
like,
they just
cool.
read you this whole thing. They invested a bunch of money into making this place look great.
And then all of a sudden, the ceiling, we look up, and there's da-da-da, we look up, and a giant corn sculpture is coming from the ceiling down. And I was like, this is the most amazing thing I have ever seen. Like I was just in awe. I was like, who just thinks to make a giant corn sculpture lowering
it was just
from
like
the
a
ceiling?
giant, like 6 foot ear of corn dropping from the ceiling.
It was
like,
amazing.
wow.
I was like, whoa, the theatrics.
They spent their money good.
Made me want to learn about corn.
It's like Disney World. Who? No, you got to come to this place.
Yeah.
And it was free.
It was free.
Even the best on that. Yeah, no, it's great that you still savor the moments and are enjoying this journey along the way too. It's got to be one of those things that if you're not taking advantage of life, and this is part of that, it would be an absolute waste because and again, it's not just go to the location, get to the hotel room, go to film, get to the hotel room, go to sleep, get on the plane and get back. You're actually making an adventure out of this. I think that's critically important. And that's been your mindset since the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You have to make the best of your time, because who knows if we'll ever get back out to the middle of Iowa again or something like that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no doubt. As so I'm sure it's putting a big damper on all that adventure, having to be stuck at that location you're at right now for an extended period of time. Ken, why don't you come back in at this point in time, sir? We got about 4 minutes left before we go to break.
Hello.
All right. So you're going to send that check in the mail. I was nice to them.
Funny.
Thank you, Ken.
You love us.
I do.
I will Venmo you. Right now.
All right. Very nice. No, I appreciate it. But Ken?
Yes.
Hit that add button. I'll hit that add button G. I have no idea.
Yeah, when you send us out, I'm right on it.
All right, you guys, it's all right. They'll be fine. So Ken, over to you. We got about 4 minutes, 3 minutes now before break.
Yeah, I was listening to this, and the last part I think was important is that your dad is an old hand at this, but this is all something new to you right now. How do you feel about, I mean, maybe you're on 2, 3 episodes a season, 4 episodes a season. Does that kind of help with that a little bit? I would imagine when you get that phone call, you're still like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You know, they want us to head out and film. You know, how does that work out? Do you guys just like meet up somewhere, plane tickets are waiting, jump on a plane? Is it that easy?
Yeah, I guess pretty much. If it fits Satori's college schedule, then yeah. Um, I mean, that's always come first for her, which is great. So if it fits the schedule, then of course we're excited to get going and go. I mean, usually we find out like a week or two before we're supposed to go, and the episodes are filmed usually about a year in advance, year to maybe 6 months to a year in advance. So yeah, I mean, of course, it's exciting. You know, when you find out, hey, we're going to the middle of Nebraska
Right.
next week.
Another cornfield. Woo! How do you guys feel? I mean, the big foible in this, and you mentioned John before, we had this conversation with him. What gets left in, what gets cut out? I mean,
Oh, geez.
obviously, you know, you guys don't like have the juice to say, you know, leave it in.
Mhm.
This is all done post production, but
Mhm.
are there times that you get a little frustrated at the finished product where you're like, oh man, that was like so good. It was part of the story. Because, like Cody said, you got 42 minutes. So something's got to go.
Yes, it can get frustrating in some ways, but it's understandable in some ways for us at least because the way we communicate with the dead that we've started telling people or showing people publicly, we can't show the whole like 3-hour session. But
Right.
it's like if you don't see every bit, it's going to look fishy how we just randomly got a full sentence. But they have to cut it in a way where it just looks like we
Right.
just effortlessly got this like full sentence and that we're just magically getting things that kind of seems a little fishy. So sometimes I'm like, oh, that looks fishy, but then I'm like, I know that they had to cut it for the sake of time.
Yeah, yeah. I wish that sometimes they explained it a little better. You know, like how we got all this stuff and how long it took and everything else. But we totally understand. I wish they included more of the answers that we got on some of these cases.
Mm.
I'm going to I want to address that on the other side of the break too, because I found that humorous and frustrating at the same time, the way that it is addressed on the show. And we'll talk about where you guys can check out these new episodes. Also, if you don't know where it's at now, it's easy to find. Believe me. We're going to take a break at this point in time, guys. When we come back on the other side, continue our conversation live from the. Where you guys at again?
Mhm.
A house in Rhode Island.
Thank you. That'd be nice.
An unnamed location.
Cody and Satori Paranormal Couple. Stay with us, guys. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you would like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
Did you know 75% of Americans are
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected. Only at kgradb.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to the second hour of our show with a very special guest, Cody and Satori, the Paranormal Couple. Going to come back on with us in here in just a few minutes. But, in the past, we have been fortunate to present to you some fantastic guests, but also some great live locations, from the Payne House to the Alley Theater and back even to the Conjuring House. And we've got another one coming your way here in just a couple of weeks that we want to tell you about, Ken.
Yeah, we are getting together once again, and as everything worked out for us, we have access to a fantastic location. We're going to show you a little bit about that. Pay attention because it's going to be on a different night, a kind of a special night, because that's when it was available for us. But I think the video here put together by our good friend Aaron Bush speaks to it better than I can. So let's take a break. Let's take a look at it.
Over the past months, Dead Air has brought you a series of live paranormal investigations featuring the Rise Up Paranormal Society. In doing so, we've given you an inside look at the group and its methods, as well as taking you into some of the most active locations in the country. First, you join the group and our in-studio hosts at the iconic Conjuring House in Harrisville, Rhode Island, where a host of approaches, with the invaluable assistance of its resident spirits, separated reality from mythology and opened doors to its history and those who inhabit the location or come in visitation. Next, we spent the holidays at the Payne House Museum in Coventry, Rhode Island, where we were entertained with stories of Christmases past and a look into the histories and behaviors of its occupants, and amazingly ourselves, as we delve deeper into the mysteries of the former Stagecoach Stop, Inn, and Tavern. For the first time, we took viewers into the Alley Theater in Middleborough, Mass., as we explored its various iterations through the years and connected with spirits eager to tell their own stories with messages of hope and encouragement about what lies beyond. While there, we also encountered a more aggressive entity that is as unwelcome to those who remain as it was to us. Then we recently visited the Oliver House in Middleborough, Massachusetts, where a series of personal messages to the living from loved ones who had passed resulted in an emotionally charged investigation that also yielded some revealing secrets of the colonial-era home and its former residents and caretakers. Now, on a special Friday night edition of Dead Air, Rise Up will travel to Napanoch, New York, for a live investigation of one of the Northeast's most haunted locations, the Shanley Hotel.
What the
With a long history of tragedy involving owners, staff, and guests alike, Rise Up's first visit to this former bordello, social gathering spot, and mob hangout will no doubt uncover some of its most closely held secrets and why the building remains so paranormally active. Mark the date, Friday, June 16th, from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. The Shanley Hotel Live Investigation. Only on Dead Air Full Spectrum on YouTube and the KGRA Digital Network, with a simulcast on Rise Up Paranormal and Dead Air Facebook pages.
There we go. And Ken,
have it.
do you want to give a lineup of who's going to be attending?
There will be myself, Julie DeMay, Steve Mills, and our guest tonight, Cody and Satori. So we're not, and Mrs. Rise Up, Dawn will be joining us as well. So we are not going in with a large crew, which sometimes works to your advantage in these type of places, but we have reserved the entire hotel for the night, so we have full
Nice.
run of it. So we're not going to have a lot of ambient noise from other guests that night. And as mentioned, for all of us, save for Julie, who supplied those video clips from her last visit, it'll all be the first time for all of us. So that should prove to be really interesting. So
Wow.
I'm very much looking forward to it on behalf of all of us and happy to share it. And so again, special night, June 16th will be a Friday night. So we'll have some promos out there and remind you of a little bit of a change in our schedule. So hope you can join us.
Yeah, not this coming Friday, but the following Friday. Joseph was asking if it was this coming Friday, but it's coming up, definitely. So
thank you, Mary Beth.
So you guys that are on screen are going to be going to the Shanley. Did I mention I'm writing a book with Andrea Perrin about the Shanley Hotel? I've never been there. I just was bringing that up at that point. Again, guys, welcome back to the second hour of our show. Cody Satori live from the Conjuring House, which they are caretakers and tour guides at the moment. And how's the rest of the people in the house doing right now? Are they spooked out? Everybody doing all right?
Seems like everyone's having a good time. Mostly just making sure, since it's warmer weather, that nobody's trespassing or anything. That's why if we look away, we're making sure of that.
Yeah, that's where we keep looking. So
the monitors.
Yes.
Yeah. Now that the warm weather's here, people like to do that. So don't think about doing that if anybody's watching this.
Cody can be very mean.
Yeah, Joseph, stay at home, Joseph. That's all. Yeah, so before the break, I wanted to bring this up. Actually, I was perusing today back through now that HBO has become Max, and they have maxed out so many of the other platforms, integrated it into their channels so that you could watch Discovery, Travel Channel. Just the list goes on. So now almost all of your favorite paranormal shows are being aired on Max, and up to and including season 16. You can watch all of the shows now if you're a subscriber to Max and check it out. And so I'm watching the episode we were talking about earlier, where you were having the conversation with the man who did not like the dirt being taken. Mm-hmm. And everybody's in the van, and your father, Jason, is calling it that thing that they do. And I'm wondering at this point in time, has there been discussion between the two of you, or even on a grander scale with producers, or to give it some sort of a name, a something method or anything like that you've considered, toyed around with? Because it should look, there's nobody else that does what you two do. And that's been mentioned even on the show. So it's got to have some kind of a name eventually. Have you come up with a couple of ideas on your road trips?
we've made jokes about it time and time because everybody messes up our names and can't remember them, so they call us Satori. So we were like, well, maybe we'll call it the Satori method because that's funny. And then we've had times where we're like, well, we're the paranormal couple, so we could always call it the paranormal couples method or something like that. But we have never really like decided on one.
I remember when we gave our talk last year at Michigan PowerCon, we made a whole list of
everything everyone has ever called it, and then we ended it with also known as that weird thing we do, and that was the description we had.
Well, you're halfway there because you work with a group called TAPS. So I mean,
I know that isn't that ironic? Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ta-da!
There you go.
You're welcome.
As plain as a nose on your face. Well, Ken was hoping it was going to be the DaCosta method, but I don't think we're going to go down that route.
Oh, no.
Taps method. Taps method. Only seen on taps. Taps. That's incredible.
The taps is tap method.
The only thing I've ever heard your dad say, at least in front of us, is all right, let's go send Cody a story and see what they get. And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. What they can go get. What they can get.
I'll tell you, if you go with Taps method, somebody very quickly is going to look to have that copyrighted and say, no, we own this now. It's going to be
get a cease and desist letter right away.
Immediately.
That's gonna end.
Not necessarily.
So, I mean, it's exciting that you guys, and again, this is, I think, realistically, for those people who maybe only subscribe to these streaming services are now going to be exposed to this for the first time. But of course, they're going to go with season 1, episode 1, and make it all the way through. But when they discover this phenomenal way of contacting you guys are doing as well, I think it's going to catch fire even that much more. And it kind of makes it a little bit difficult to just go in there with recorders or just go in there because the team's doing that already. The team's going in there with every type of electronic piece of equipment that they have out there and still catching some great evidence. You know, I know that your dad was scratched on one of the episodes, and they could put the thermal on it and see the white and then the heat around that, white hot heat, and then a red heat around that. So the technology is there, but from the contribution standpoint, what the two of you with the Paranormal Couple brings to the table, I haven't seen it yet to really become as dynamic and important as, well, you've heard me argue it here in the field. It's an incredible accomplishment. Are you just biding your time, or are you completely satisfied with the level of exposure you're getting nationally versus what you do when you're helping people in the field?
Well, we have been just letting it. I mean, we definitely haven't been, trying to pursue, getting on television as much as possible or getting out there as much as possible. We just kind of, let it come to us naturally. The thing, I mean, since it started, the thing that we focused on is just, helping the people that we're supposed to help, that cross our paths naturally. And that's pretty much what we've been doing with most of our, free time. I mean, most of the people that we're helping are not expecting it at all. A lot of times they don't even know we're coming, to the house to help them. You know what I mean? So those are the people I think that deserve it the most. As far as advancing, what we're doing, at least in my opinion, I think eventually, if it comes to a point where it becomes more sensationalized in a production standpoint, what we do, I think the only way we would ever agree to do that is if, we had control over the final product. We just don't want it to be portrayed as something that it's not, because that's just not what it is.
Right.
For its purpose, we are very content with the amount of attention we have and exposure we have with this, because the entire purpose of it isn't really for our gain in any way. It's just to help people. And I mean, the only good thing, in our opinion, that's coming out of this is that the word's traveling more, where now we can help more people if it's meant to happen. But I don't know. If you 2 years ago, I was completely content with the 3 or 4 people that knew that, you know, instead of the thousands of people that know now. So I was very content.
The first episode of Ghost Hunters that we ever did it on was the Argo Hotel episode. And when we were flying out to do that, I mean, we were not planning on doing our method at all. And it wasn't until I remember on the car ride from the airport to the location, I remember your dad turning around to us and he was like, hey, just so you guys know, just do whatever you do, you know, just, you know, do your own thing. Everybody investigates their own way. Don't investigate our way. Just do your own thing and see what you get, you know, doing that. And we're like, really? You want us to do that? And he was like, yeah, just do whatever you want. I've always told everybody, investigate their own way. And that's how you get the best results. Don't investigate the way I investigate. Do it your own way, your own style. And that's the way you're going to get your best results. So I remember, you know, sitting in the back and just whispering back and forth with the story if we should really do this and kind of show the world what's going on. Because we knew there was going to be a lot of, like, it's a big pill to swallow, you know.
We're in the back seat and we're like, are we sure we should be doing this? I mean, half the people we're friends with don't even know we can do this. And then it's just going to like show up on the screen and be like, oh, well, by the way, you know.
And then after we did that, we went on an investigation with Ken at one of the
we
Masonic
were like,
lodges.
Ken, we have to tell you something.
And we're like,
figure it out.
I was like, yeah, Ken's going to
What
fuck
now?
us either way. So we better just tell him
We
now.
should tell him when we have him.
Can we try something where the exact words, do you mind if we try something? And it just all from there.
And it was like
Really?
a day later that Ken
Like-
called me saying, I need to wrap my head around this. And he was processing everything that he experienced. One last question, and then I'll turn it back over to Ken, is on set. Because we have done it enough in the live investigations, you've done it enough with Rise of Paranormal, that you have, for lack of a better word, guest appearances, family members that show up, and all of a sudden they want their messages to get across. Has it happened with the crew on location? Have you guys gone out and part of the production crew or catering or even team members, family members have shown up? Yes?
Yes, and I want to say more on that, but we have had encounters that have been very personal and they didn't want it to be publicly shown or known. But yes, a couple times, oh my gosh, that car flew by. A couple times we have had to give readings to people at the strangest of locations because it's just like a loved one checking in on them, saying they're proud of the work they're doing and like all this stuff.
I remember there was a couple of the crew that, you know, after they saw our first experience at the Argo Hotel, the next time we went out to film an episode, somebody came through for somebody and they were like, you know, since I saw you guys last time, I've been, you know, thinking about this person over and over again, just trying to get a message from them. And, you know, then it happened that night. And, you know, I think that's what solidified it for that particular person.
But the crew has been, I think some of them were a little nervous at first too, because the first time when we did this, we were like, okay, we'll do it. And so we get a couple of the crew members and Cody and I are talking up the stairwell to each other, whispering, we're like, Cody, we're going to do this. We're going to terrify them. Like, you know, and so we get up to the stairs and we start doing it. It starts happening. And then all of a sudden you see them whip around with their cameras.
Like, where do I go?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're sitting there and all of a sudden you hear them walkie back to base and they're like, I don't know what's going on here. It's everywhere. I don't know what's going on. Like, this is weird. Yeah, this is crazy. What do I do? And like, we're like, just calm down. Like, you know? So it was funny how like weird it was for them first too. We were like, oh, it happens, you know?
Now they're used to it. Now they have it all under
Now
control
they're like, oh, they're going to go do that weird thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like my mom shows up at the Payne house. It's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
Same thing.
It's like, I belong here.
Same stuff. Yeah, that's the parts they cut out. That's a lot. That's some of the parts they cut out for sure.
Right.
And there's just so much more dialogue that's between the spirits we talk to that unfortunately doesn't make it. It's good stuff, but you know they just want to get the point across on who it is, why they're there, and straight to the point. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
Ken, do you want to get to some of the questions in chat, or you want to get to that at the
do.
bottom of the hour? Okay.
No, I do. I think we could go there for a little bit right now. We do have some, and I want to get this out of the way, and then come back to something. Let's go with Lona, who would like to know who picks the cases, taps, visits.
So it depends. A lot of the time, my father and the team discusses like which ones. The way that the TAPS cases, from my understanding, get sort of picked is like it depends on the activity. There's also different investigative teams all around the country and sometimes around the world that will send in cases and say like, hey, we've been investigating this for a while. It's wicked active. And, like just having those kind of almost like scouting kind of things, like investigators that kind of recommend to us in a system. And then it kind of is just based off of schedule. What can be done, like what, where is it? It really depends.
Yeah. I mean, most of the cases that come in are through email, you know what I mean? And not everybody wants to be on television. Of course, there's a lot of private cases where, just people just want help. There's children involved and all that stuff.
Sure.
So there definitely is a whole process that kind of narrows down and funnels out all the locations and things like that. And for privacy reasons, even if the family did want to be on TV, the show has become really popular, and sometimes it doesn't end up working out good for the families once they get on TV. Just from a community standpoint. So which is why you see a lot of the public places being investigated now and stuff like that. And once in a while we do a private home on television. They still do that. But most of the places are kind of bigger locations now and stuff like that. And usually they're still reaching out to us through email.
Yeah. I was contacted years ago. Ghost Nation was interested in Payne House. I don't mean this to cast any aversions, but, there was nothing horrific that happened there and people weren't scared. And at the end of the day, you're still trying to tell a story, a good story. It's like, is anybody bothered? Not really, because that can work one of two ways. You look at the place that you're at tonight. That has gotten too much of the other thing, the horrific and the evil and the demonic. And then, you go to another way where it's like, no one's really frightened. It's actually kind of comfortable and everybody's welcoming and, it's all good. So it depends what kind of story you want to tell and what's available. Erin would like to know, energetically, how long does it take you to recover after filming?
It depends on what we do. I think if we do our method, it's a little harder for us because it's like we get so tired after doing our communication too.
Yeah, I mean, and we kind of have something to compare it to. So when we filmed Ghost Nation in those episodes, we didn't do our method. We were still we were doing our method not on camera, but we weren't showing the world that. So we weren't doing it really on location.
Well, there was that one time at the prison.
So the Mid-Orange Correctional Facility episode of Ghost Nation.
We were not ready to tell the public yet. And
was that the dog episode?
That's the dog episode.
We were not ready to tell the public yet that we talked to the dead with knocking noises, because how do you tell somebody that? So we were trying to figure it out.
We were still trying to figure it out.
We were trying to figure it out. So there was there was one point, if you rewatch the episode, we're standing in the theater area and we're talking about the pause program with the dogs and everything. And I didn't realize at the time that I was like, my leg in my feet were like brushed up with Cody's. Like we were so close for the sake of the shot. And then all of a sudden you hear footsteps and we just go, oh, and then we jump to, what was that? Because we're so terrified that we didn't want anybody to like know yet.
Right.
So if you rewatch that, you'll see that.
Yeah.
So that was, you were aware of that. Is that like 2019?
That was early 2020 because it was like February, because a month or two later, the world shut down.
Yeah, but I mean, when you filmed it. I mean, not when it was released.
Yeah, I think that's when we filmed it.
No, I think
2020?
it was 2019.
No, I think it was 2020.
All right, so it was either end of 2019 or the very beginning of 2020. But I know everything went into lockdown right
Yeah.
soon after that. But yeah, to answer Aaron's question, so we had something to compare it to. So that filming week,
February 2020.
was it?
Yep, I have a photo from it.
Awesome. All right, you were right. I was wrong. I'm sorry. So that week compared to a week of doing our method, you can definitely feel it. An energy, difference after that for sure.
Yeah.
There definitely is more. Of course, there's more energy that goes into doing our method than just investigating normally. I would assume.
Right. Right. I wanted to talk a little bit because George was talking about the technology as opposed to this. And the thing I wanted to point out on the things that we've done, and there have been far more than live investigations, there are things that we've done. It does not preclude us from recording or getting evidence outside of what you do.
Yeah.
Because at the end of all of these things, like I'll tell you, we picked up a voice, we recorded this, and we have a sound, we have movement, because there's always something going. So it's a marriage of both things, and it works well. What you see a lot of times is, especially when we go to places that we've been to many times, where we've caught some dramatic things and documented them, but a lot of times we will have Cody Satori come in, and I've said this many times, to get emotional content. It's like, we know a place is active. We pretty much know who the players are, who's there. And sometimes we get corrected, and we have in the past, but in going to places we visited many times, like Payne House, whatever the case may be. You guys okay there, or?
Yeah, something just like slid. We just heard like a sliding noise, which was weird.
Every time you do that, I'm going like this over here, like something's gonna walk in the door. But yeah, the methods, they work out well, and sometimes they will wait to do what they do, and other times I'll just say, hey, as soon as we walk in there, let's figure out who's here, so we can go from there and address it. So they both work out quite well.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why on the show and with Rise Up, everybody still does their own way of investigating, because Stu and I, we can talk to them, but we can't see them. We can't, hear them with our ears, besides the knocking. So like after, you'll see, and sometimes they show it, sometimes they don't. But after we go in, another team of investigators will go in and kind of, just like we do with Rise Up, kind of bounce off what we got. Like,
Sure,
somebody was up here, a woman was up here talking to Cody and Satori. They said, you're over here. Can you say something? And like with Ghost Hunters, we have this cool like sonar device that scans a room, and it can map out an entire person. It's not SLS or anything like that. It's like real sonar that's mobile, and you can get distance and things like that. So they can use that stuff to their advantage after they get information from us, to try expanding on the information that we've got, so they can show the client, listen, we got this information from Satori and Cody, but this is a visual thing we also got in the same room after we got the information from them. So now you have the information of who it is, when they died or whatever, or when they were born, and then whatever message they have. Plus you have a visual of, the form that is happening, or a voice or something like that. So sometimes what we get can trigger a response down the line with the other equipment, which is neat.
Like, I want to review the one we did at Payne House where Sarah Whipplestone was describing herself. I want to use that Faces program that I have and see if we can try to recreate what this woman looked like, and maybe show it. Well, no, they can't see into screens. We'll print it out.
Yeah, we want to print out facial features and like go get all of them printed, like every combination we can, and then we'll put it in like a book and actually be able to build spirits' faces.
We need like a
I have the perfect program for that.
So if we could just print off your program, like all the features. That would be awesome.
Let's go one more question in chat. Gene wants to know, what was your favorite of the episodes you guys were on?
I'm torn between the Bastille in California and Moody Mansion in Alabama. The reason I love the Bastille in California is, one, because we actually found something that a spirit led us to, which was very validating actually for us too. I also love that because of some of the reactions from the public while watching this, because we don't really pay attention to reactions too much. We just kind of do our own thing. But there were times where some people were like, this is amazing. And then you got that fraction of people that were like, you planted that pen. And I'm like, okay, so we went in, we found an old 1940s, 50s fountain pen. We built it into the wall. We molded over the wall. We rebuilt the wall. And then we had my dad come in and tear
keep in
it
mind,
out.
that's the case that we flew from your college.
From my college to there, had my dad rip open the wall again. Like, it was so funny. But it was so great. And Moody Mansion just having that information that nobody else knew.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
So, Ken, I don't know if you got I sent you a picture of, looks like a floor. And that's the area. That's it. So that's after the fact. So you can see that molding ripped off. That's what Jay did. So that's where the pen was found. So this was buried in the side of this wall.
I think it was funny how much trust my dad had, because we were like, Dad, the spirit says there's a pen in the wall right here. My dad's like no, he didn't even question it. He just got down and ripped it open.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's awesome. Thanks.
Well, that's the first item, and it might not be the only item he ever needs in his new haunted museum, from what I
He keeps
understand.
threatening us with that.
Yeah, he
You
said
have-
he's started.
You have competition.
I
You
know.
have competition.
I know.
I wanted to talk a little bit about something different that happened, and I want you guys to tell the story because of when you came to dinner the other night. Something really unusual happened, and this is what we mean by taking our time on this. When we work together, we were at Oliver House underneath you, feeling the floor for vibrations and things like that. So these little steps that don't throw everything into turmoil, and don't yeah, he's shaking his head, and don't really blow everything up. But you guys were here for dinner, and we had finished. We were just sitting in the living room, and something that was a first, I guess, happened. So why don't you tell this story, Satori? Because this was kind of crazy. Because now the other thing I want to say is, when they come for a visit, we don't sit around and ghost hunt and do this method at all. You know, we eat, we have dessert, we watch TV, we talk about George behind his back, we do all of these things. You know, we tease him about never coming to Harrisville, you know, the usual stuff we talk about. But so that's what made this even more unusual. So I'm going to give the floor to Satori, because I just wanted to tell something that, you know, that happened here that was a little bit more unusual.
So, just for the record, for some people, I'm still trying to figure this out, but lately I have been, and I don't know why, just having some really strange dreams or seeing some really strange things. I don't know what's going on. Like, I could always, you know, talk about that later. But long story short, and I haven't told anybody really. So we were sitting on the couch in your living room, Ken, and we were just chilling and watching videos and talking. And all of a sudden I turned to look at you. And as I look at you, between you and Dawn, you're both sitting on two separate chairs. There's this like wall piece right here, and then there's an opening, almost like this window area in your house. And it leads
to the
like
sunroom. You can see it.
Sunroom. And so I look up, and just a flash, I see this guy. And he looks like he's like leaning over, kind of like he's like reaching or looking over. And so I for some reason I memorized him as quick as I could, and then he was gone. What was weird about him was, now I thought somebody was in the house. So I freak out, and I was like, there was somebody standing there, like somebody broke into your house. But now I think about it, and I remember that he looked like around him was almost like he was a cutout. Like, you could see a white almost like around him. And then you could see what looked like the heat coming off a grill. Does that make any sense? Like, you know, that waviness, like
Yeah.
that around it too. So I was like, okay, that's weird. I remember that he had a blue shirt on, and there was a collar, a very distinct collar. And I remember he was bald mostly. He had like white patches on the side of his head. I think I said glasses. I remember glasses and things like that. It was just so weird. I was like, I remember the wrinkles in his neck. That was the biggest one I remembered. He had such
The turkey
defined
neck.
like wrinkles
Yeah.
in his neck. And I
Well,
was
you
like,
had stopped. You had stopped mid-sentence, or you had just said something. I was responding to you, and you had just like one of these, and I kept talking, and I was just kind of following you, and then you
That
know,
was-
and and you like started to point, and so then it was like, you know,
yeah.
Corey, what's up? What's going on?
Trying to remember as fast as I could. Like, that was my trying to remember face.
And the first thing you say is, "There's a man over there," and me and Ken get up and like, "Where?" We ran outside, thinking somebody's trying to
And I
break
was like,
in.
no, he was in the house. And like, that was it. So I describe him, and then Ken.
Keep. I'm just going to find something. Keep going.
So Ken, he was confused, but he sounded like he was like, okay, I'm gonna have to like. So he was like, describe this guy. So I described everything that I said to you. I remember white hair and things like that around him, and I just described him. And Ken was like, okay. He didn't say anything to me or anything like that. I haven't really like, I wouldn't snoop or anything. And
Right.
Dawn's like, okay. So later in the night, we're just hanging out, having a good time, and I'm walking through the house in like an area that I'm not really in. And I stop on the stairwell and I look at this collage that's on the wall, a million little people in this collage they have. And I just stop and I make eye contact with a blue collared man that had wrinkles in his neck and white patches in it. I was like, so I stare and I was like, Dawn, who's that? And she's like, oh, that's, can I say it?
Can I show you this?
Yeah.
George put me back on.
So that was, and I just looked at it and I was like, who is that? And Dawn told me who it was. And she's like, why? Is that the man you saw? And I was like, looks pretty darn like him. Like, looked pretty darn like the guy I was looking at. And the wrinkles in the neck, everything was
Yep.
exact.
Glasses and stuff.
Glasses, wrinkles, everything was exact. And then Ken, you told me who it was.
Right.
And
That's
so
that is my father.
and I was like, that's definitely.
And then we go downstairs, and we hold hands or something, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, we were just standing next to each
Standing
other.
there, and start hearing footsteps come in, and we're like, "Oh, somebody's here."
Yeah.
So I forget who came through. I forget the name that came through, but it was
Junior.
Junior. That's right. So he comes forward, and we asked, was that Ken's dad that was standing there? He goes, yes, that was him. And he spelled out his. So this was somebody new we hadn't talked to in Ken's family before,
Right.
which was interesting. And again, the first time we had ever done this at Ken's house, because we were just hanging out, when we go over there. He kind of explained everything that had happened. He had showed up there and came through.
But it was like kind of scary because it was the first time I've ever seen somebody like that was so real. And and that's why I just yelped out. The first thing that came to my mouth was, there's an old man standing over there. Like, that was the first thing that came out of my mouth because I didn't know. And
Well, the individual that showed up was actually my brother,
right?
John Jr. And the message was, talk to him for a little bit, and he says, you're doing great, and we're all fine. Everybody's there, and it's all fine. It was actually his wife, my sister-in-law's birthday that day, which, when all was said and done, I said, wow, too bad, it just, because you're in the moment, as all this craziness is happening, and you don't stop to think, I should have mentioned his wife, So he just let us know that they're all fine, everything's okay. And then he went on his way. And but this was something that I had asked you. I said, Does this happen to you? And he said, not really. You were seeing just seeing someone, because I know you were in contact with each other because you're just kind of leaning on each other on the couch. So
Yeah,
again, it's just like these things just happen organically.
yeah, this is the first time that's ever happened, at least for me. And I don't know if that means something's changing energy wise or growing energy wise. Because I mean, the last time we were here at the house before that experience, I was telling you guys a little bit that Cody and I were laying down, we were sleeping here at the house, and I had a whole dream here at the Conjuring House, which I could go into, where I was able to touch things for the first time and wake up and describe to people everything I was seeing, hearing, and touching. Wow. And it was like the first time I've ever had a dream like that. And then I see your dad, and then like it's weird. I don't know what's going on with us right now, but it's like
and
weird.
we confirmed some of the stuff in your dream that you saw. And
this is exactly what you picked.
The photo, the one with the
right
vest
there.
right there with the glasses. That was the like. That's where I saw on the stairs. I was like, that's the face I saw. Like that was,
right.
You know.
You were coming down from upstairs and just we were looking at the family pictures and who's that? And those are the best, right? Because it's like a child who has someone they're talking to in their room, and you show them an album of the grandparent they never met and said, "Oh, that's Nana right there." You know what I mean? So those are the best. You know.
Cool.
You know, it's my opinion on this. It's none of it's happening fast enough because, again, I have to give credit where credit is due. You know, you guys, with the advice from this sage known as Ken DaCosta, to just let things happen naturally and don't push it. And I respect that. I don't like it, but I respect it because this is what is transpiring now. And as Aaron was just saying too, is it a possibility that let's go on the supposition that the trust is growing in a sense, the knocking, the communication is 100% trusted. And because you've not betrayed that trust over this duration, 2 years plus, is it now the next evolution of now we will let you see us? And it could be one of those situations that as you had those dreams, that may be some sort of premonition to the future where contact might actually just be there. I mean, it's a wondrous thing to be able to view and see this happen. I can only imagine experiencing it.
That dream was weird. I remember I was half asleep and I sat up and I just started blurting things out to you because it was, and then some of the things, for example, like I saw the Conjuring House in different time periods all mixed together. And that's the only way I could describe it. And I'm naming things I picked up in the room and things that I scanned and saw. And then I told Cody, I was like, one big thing. I told Cody and the owner, Jacqueline, as I'm walking by the house when I first started the dream, I noticed that there was something that almost looked like a sprinkler system in a house sticking out of the ground next to the house. And I'm going on all this detail.
It's a figure.
Yeah, it was like the figure of it. Like I didn't really look at detail. Yeah. Come to find out, there was a well exactly where I pointed outside that I saw this thing sticking out of the ground. And they said, oh, in the original house, there was a well there at one point. You didn't know that. So it's like weird that like this stuff is happening for us.
Yeah.
You're going to get visuals and you're going to get the point where you're going to be able to hear them. And poor Cody, in the meantime, he's going to get to experience any and all pain that these spirits have had in the past. That's going to be his claim to fame.
One contribution.
Yeah. Oh, you had an injury to your hip too. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
I'm just informed, by the way, that I talked to you about Korean barbecue at the house next.
Yeah.
And my wife says you're getting corned. Funny, Mrs. Rise Up.
Lowered from the ceiling.
Okay. Lowered from the ceiling into your mouths.
Good effect.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I'm going to start hooking that up this week.
We are I have been informed by Ken that pretty soon here that you will be going on hiatus from your Thursday show. Talk about your show for a little bit for everybody, first of all, because it's just one of the pleasures here on Dead Air Full Spectrum to view the mastery of what you guys do, the synergy the two of you have together, the way that it's edited all together. And where are you going? How come we're not going to have you for the summer?
Well, we definitely love to have fun with the show, and basically what the whole show, kind of format is
Chaos.
definitely chaos. Absolutely, it's great. I don't know why anybody watches it, to be honest. It's just us having fun, and the beginning of the show, we kind of sneak in an object from the museum and kind of explain, its origins and where it came from, and the story behind it, and then the rest of the show is like Satori said, total chaos. We have different segments that we do. So we kind of learn about each other, and the audience kind of learns more about us, about more personal stuff about us, and things that we like and dislike and didn't know about each other. And we just like to have fun and just be ourselves on that. So that's every other Thursday on Dead Air, and it's a blast. And we don't want to go on a hiatus, that's for sure.
But we have to, because we have big plans with renovations for the museum, hopefully opening this fall in New England.
Yeah, we're hoping for an October 1st opening date.
At an undisclosed location.
Yeah, and it's coming very quickly. It's coming up fast. Even though the summer is just starting, it's fall's going to be here before we know it. And there's a lot of work that has to be done to meet the goal of this opening date. And we're not really going to be at the current location of the museum for a while. It's going to be in disarray, and things are going to be getting moved around and all that stuff. So it wouldn't be fair to everybody if we just do our show like sitting here. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't be the same. You know what I mean?
What we're going to do is we're still going to supply patrons on Patreon with some content and things and private, live streams and stuff. We're taking a hiatus from the show this summer. And then when we come back, it's going to be a grand show from a new location. So
yeah. So I'm guessing we have a few more episodes left before we do that. I'm guessing like the middle of July, somewhere around there. And
like 1 or 2 episodes left.
Yeah, I would say a couple episodes left for that. And then once we get the go ahead, because everything's being renovated right now. I mean, we have builders building stuff out right now and all that. So once they're done, we get to move in. And then when that happens, then we'll take a little break for a while. And then we'll be back. Once the museum opens, we'll be back in the new location. And hopefully the show will be even better than what it's been. And maybe more people will want to watch. Because, again, I have no idea why people want to watch us bicker back and forth. But they do.
Well, because it's that's what you do. But no, it'll be good because you could give especially when it first opens, a little bit of a virtual tour. And encourage people to visit, because what do you I mean, you got to be up over 400 items by now.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. And it's growing. I mean, just since we've been watching the house this week, we've gotten at least 4 or 5 emails from people wants to send us stuff, and every single week it's grown to something.
It's at least 1 or 2 things every week.
Yeah, and I think the show on Dead Air, kind of spread the word about that as well. And then, of course, our Ghost Hunters appearances. Once people start looking into us, they end up finding out about the museum, and then they have something in their house that they want to get rid of. So it's growing really fast. And I don't even know if we'll be able to fit everything into this new building, believe it or not. The cool thing is that there'll be rotations here or there. So if you visit, twice, you'll see something new the next time you come. And that's the way it's being laid out, at least,
That's
phenomenal.
Incredible.
I mean, I am looking forward to, the grand opening and what that's going to look like. And just a little bit of how it's been described and how it's being set up I mean, I can tell you that it's like professional grade displaying of things. You know,
it's going to be very interactive. There's going to be a
Right.
lot of things for people to do.
Press or do or sit in or things like
Is it going to be announceable by the time the Ocean State Paracon is happening?
it might be.
I think so.
You think so?
The weekend, that's September. So
We're gonna hint, but then we'll probably unveil around then. So maybe.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah,
I'm more. I mean, I have to. I'm the one who has to bite my tongue more than Satori.
You do.
So
Shut
she has
up.
to pull me back. So
I
I'm saying,
think I feel.
oh yeah,
I'm the same way. There's people that's like, bamboo under my fingernails trying to get information on you guys. It's like,
And
I ain't talking.
Yeah.
And can we get enough time to do a quick promotion for that event? If you want to go ahead and tell everybody where they can get tickets and when it is.
Yeah, a couple of things actually. Let me see. The Ocean State Paracon, September 9th and 10th, 2023, at the Assembly Theater in Harrisville. If
Look at that
town sounds
lineup.
familiar, it
Wow.
should, because the event's being sponsored by Jacqueline Nunez and the Conjuring House. And you can see our lineup there. Everybody has, for the most part, a little something to do with the house. We're celebrating the 10th anniversary of the release of The Conjuring, and it benefits, all proceeds benefit the Tomorrow Fund, which helps out families who are dealing with cancer. And also, we've added Michelle Roos, who we've had on the show. Absolutely lovely, absolutely brilliant, and so glad that she's going to be joining us. So September 9th and 10th, Harrisville, Rhode Island. And I'll tell you, the reception has been overwhelming so far.
Nice.
I think this is going to be awesome. Sunday night, I think it's sold out already, an investigation of the Conjuring House. But Saturday, Sunday, during the day, there are tours that have been added to the event. So if you're down for it, take an hour off from us and go explore the Conjuring House inside and outside. But we'll have the usual vendors, food trucks, outdoors. Before we get out of here, too, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the other thing that's coming up here. I'll put it up on the screen. This is Friday, June 16th, 2 weeks from now, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. The Shanley House live here on Dead Air. All of us, other than Julie, not sure about Steve, first time. So what are your thoughts on that, guys?
Excited.
We've heard a lot about this place from a lot of different people, and we're excited to check it out, especially with you guys. We're really excited.
It's gonna be a fun trip.
Yeah. One thing I'm going to warn everybody ahead of time, because we've talked about this, there may be a little more tomfoolery on this trip than there normally is. We try to be professional at all times and make you think well of us, but we've decided that, as they said before, you got to go on these things and be yourself. So we can all be a bit of clowns sometimes, so I'm warning you ahead of time.
If we make it there, we're all riding down in a big van. So if we even make it to the Shanley,
what can go wrong? We'll stop at the UFO museum, and I'll just let that sit in the air. I had a zinger, but we'll just let it go.
Yeah, which perfect timing, because we are all out of time here, guys. Quick shout out to Ron, who's been with Bill Forte this weekend for your
Ronnie.
convention, and want to thank everybody in the chat for joining us tonight. And we will see you again next week. Thanks to our guests, of course, Cody and Satori, and we thank you guys for joining
Bill
us.
will
Hit
be
that
there.
subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, hit that reminder bell, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Thank you.